Yo guys, Punkrat another video. So you read the title, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Mages are nuts in vanilla. They're probably the most fleshed out, most versatile, and probably overall the most consistently tier 1 class in the game for both PvE and PvP. You may be asking, but Punkrat, mages can't stun on demand. Mages are squishy. Mages aren't rogues, mate. Rogues are the most OP class in the game. I've never beat a rogue in my life, mate. It's impossible.
Wrong.
But can you do that?
Mages are busted, and this video is going to be a straight propaganda piece for the master class of mages. Careful, if you're easily influenced by shifty car salesmen such as myself, then I might make you reconsider your class picking decision once again. If so, I'm sorry if I'm confusing you more than you probably already are with your decision. But listen, they can almost do anything, which is not really a thing in vanilla in comparison to pretty much every other class. If you notice, with the modern expansions, classes have been pretty homogenized. Every class has been drastically altered in terms of their utility kit and defensive kit. One class has pretty much stayed static, or at least relatively similar within its core, and that's the Mage. Yeah, there's been big mechanic changes, alter time and other different things like the instant cast and all the procs, but in general, the core hasn't changed whatsoever. The same can't be said for other classes. Mages are kind of like the model that everything else has been built around in a certain sense. Alright, so let me make the case, and let's start off with the leveling process. It's widely known that mages are one of the top leveling classes in the game. On private servers, mages are number 1 due to the lack of melee leeway and the ability to abuse a couple mechanics that I don't think we'll actually see in classic WoW, like the elemental farming trick in Stranglethorn Vale during your mid-level 30s and plus to level 40. On actual classic, I think hunters are probably going to beat mages to level 60 slightly, at least in a solo perspective, just due to those changes, but it's definitely going to be really close and mages are going to be a top tier leveler, as expected. And my judgment also might be off, mages might actually find their way to number 1, we really never know, the player base is going to determine that. Mages are the only class in the game who have the ability to AoE grind mobs, which is what makes them unique, so killing masses of mobs basically all at once without even being touched if they're good at it. This is due to their utility built within their skill set. Warlocks have AoE too, and so do hunters. Hunters have multi-shot and volley, but it lacks the utility built within the actual ability itself. If you're a lock and you cast Rain of Fire, it doesn't help you one bit, the mobs will just run straight through it. I mean, there's Hellfire, but yeah, no. Mages have Blizzard, which baseline has no control, so it's like Rain of Fire, but mixed with the Frost talents, you could apply a 70% slow onto your Blizzard ticks, which also has a chance of proccing Frostbite, which is another talent that has an RNG chance to proc freeze or root on the enemies for 5 seconds, rooting them in place. Now combine that with Frost Nova for grouping a bunch of mobs in one place and stalling for distance and time, Cone of Cold for mass slowing mobs and again breaking distance and stalling for cooldowns, Arcane Explosion for finishing near dead mobs, Frost Armor for slowing mobs that break distance or resist a Cone of Cold or a Frost Nova. Not to mention, the actual proc on your Frost Armor itself can literally proc your Frostbite, which is a 5-second root compensating for maybe a resist or something. You have an impeccable toolkit for mass control and mass kiting. This goes beyond AoE grinding. I mean, in general, mages don't die. Okay, fine, they die, but definitely less than most other classes. Mages have the ability to turn a deathly situation into a great escape. Counting everything that I just mentioned with the addition of Blink to break distance instantly, you have the ability to leave enemies in the dust, frozen with a Shattered Spirit. This makes mages the second best flag carriers in Warsong Gulch as well, right behind druids. Oh, and not to mention, you have the utility talents you get from your frost tree in Ice Block and Cold Snap. So in relation to being an escape artist, Ice Block and Cold Snap essentially double your escape potential. Ice Block itself can be used as a second lease on life when it comes to utility. So if you're waiting for a second Ice Nova or a Blink to come off cooldown, you can sit in the Ice Block immune to all strikes until that cooldown refreshes again and then use it straight out of the Ice Block. And of course, we have Cold Snap, which is the frost spell cooldown reset like preparation for rogues or readiness for hunters. So again, it's a second lease on life. It allows you to reset all of your above mentioned utility frost spells so you can Frost Nova twice in succession, Cone of Cold twice in succession, Ice Block twice in succession, and yes, for a 16-second long immunity on a double Ice Block. There's no hypothermia in vanilla, so you don't have to wait 30 seconds to be able to cast another Ice Block after casting the first. You can also reset your ice barrier with Cold Snap, so on top of that, mages have the ability to use a shield every 30 seconds on top of their mana shield. So every 30 seconds you can keep reapplying a shield, and you can also reset that shield with Cold Snap. It's just utility on top of utility on top of utility on top of utility. With the classic WoW beta, we've seen AoE dungeon grinding start to bubble to the surface, and many people are probably thinking, this isn't Wrath of the Lich King, mate, you can't AoE grind dungeons in vanilla. You need to polymorph every single pack and mark a skull and an X and a moon. Every dungeon is impossible, man. Imagine a group of 4 mages with a priest to heal and shield and maybe pop a fear to compensate, as little backup utility. You have all of the utility that we listed earlier multiplied times 4. Of course, Frost Nova has a DR, so you can't just endlessly cycle Frost Novas, but still, you can cycle Cone of Colds, and you can cycle Frost Novas to a certain extent if you're coordinating around DRs. And of course, mass AoE kiting mobs is something that pretty much no other class could ever dream of being able to accomplish, but mages can. Now, of course, let's correlate this to PvP, which should be fairly obvious. One thing that I didn't mention earlier, one thing that I didn't put too much emphasis on earlier was Polymorph. But man, it's a spammable CC that's more reliable and more controlled than a fear is. Mages also have a 30-yard spell interrupt which locks out the interrupted spell school for 10 seconds. 10 damn seconds on that spell school that you lock out, on a 24-second cooldown. And you can improve your counterspell to serve as a blanket silence for 3 seconds. So you don't even need to interrupt the spell like a kick, but rather just blanket silence the target, preventing them from casting any abilities for 3 seconds like a Shadow Priest silence. And a great trick that many skilled mages use is, let's say you have an enemy trying to escape your wizardly wrath by peeling around a corner and casting a heal on themselves. You could break the LOS issue with a blink at the right angle to get just in sight and instantly interrupt that spell. This is a very common tactic used in arenas in the modern game, and it's just as viable in vanilla. You have the most utility NCC in the game. AoE slows with Blizzard and Cone of Cold, RNG roots with Frostbite, slow on hit with Frost Armor, Frost Nova, Polymorph is a spammable CC, rank 1 Frostbolt is a 1-second casted projectile on the target to slow them, and 2 shields to absorb damage in Mana Barrier and Ice Barrier. But the strength of a mage goes even further than that in vanilla PvP. Most classes have 1, sometimes 2 viable specs that they can run. Mages, on the other hand, can run so many different variations of different specs. Deep Frost is the most common one used by entry-level mages, and it's the pure control mage, which is, I'd say, probably the best one to run in a pre-made. You can run a hybrid build, so getting the core within the fire tree from Impact Stun to Ignite, Blast Wave, and Pyroblast, and then mixing that with Shatter in your Frost tree, which allows you to combo fire spells into your Frost Nova, which is essentially a fire Shatter combo that leads into a strong Ignite dot since the crits are pretty much guaranteed into the Shatter combo. So yeah, you heard me right, fire shatters. You might not have known that shattering works for fire spells. It's super fun, especially mixed in with impact stun procs if the RNG gods are bestowing their favor upon you, so you could shatter combo into a stun and just finish the target. And of course, the most hated spec by the community at large, which is the one-button mage, the nightmare spec of our dreams, the Palm Pyro Instant Pyroblast Mage. It's mainly an arcane spec that builds to arcane power and presence of mind, then picking up Pyroblast in the fire tree, giving you the ability to one-shot people on demand pretty much. I mean, you just click one button, pop all of your trinkets, arcane power, and just instant cast a Pyroblast on the target, hopefully proccing an impact stun on the enemy if the Pyroblast didn't finish the job. Or getting a Polymorph on the target, hard casting a Pyroblast into another Pyroblast off of it that's an instant cast. back-to-back double Spirit Bomb on the enemy without the 3-episode worth of charge up. Get Goku'd. And staying in line with Arcane really quick, mages also have Arcane Missiles, which is a toggled channeled spell on your target, shooting 5 missiles over the duration of the channel. This allows mages to finish targets as they try to escape around the corner or get out of line of sight. So as the target peels around the corner, right before they go around, you can toggle your Arcane Missiles onto them and it'll channel all the way through. The damage will follow them behind the pillar like a heat-seeking missile, and they'll take every single strike and hopefully die around the corner. So all of this makes mages one of the best PvP classes in the game by far. They have clear weaknesses, sure, mainly in 1v1 fights versus hunters, shamans, warlocks, and shadow priests, but they greatly make up for it on the macro level. And overall, in a team sense especially, they're a total tier 1 PvP class. Now let's cover Endgame Pve really quick, where again mages hold their own and eventually evolve into probably the most crucial DPS class in the game. In the early days, mages are one of the strongest DPS class alongside Fury Warriors and Rogues, which doesn't necessarily change. Guilds tend to run one Deep Frost Mage to apply Winter's Chill on the enemy mob, which increases the crit chance of all frost spells on that target by 10% when fully stacked up times 5, and then the rest of the mages will run an Arcane Frost build where they build it into Arcane Power and Presence of Mind, kind of like the PvP spec, alongside the basic DPS Frost talents. So you just cast a bunch of Frost bolts and complement it with the Arcane DPS cooldowns. This trend of mages working together to maximize their DPS is part of mage lore within World of Warcraft in general, and it's further exacerbated in the later tiers of raiding. I went over this pretty extensively in my video talking about the most optimal raid compositions for speed clearing in Classic WoW, so I'll cover it pretty briefly here. Once you get into AQ40 and Nax, all of your mages respec to fire, unleashing the concept of rolling ignites. So if one mage crits, he starts an ignite chain, which is a dot that's based off of the damage of the first spell crit. So if it's a fireball crit, it'll be a much stronger ignite dot than a scorch, for example. Then all of the other mages will push into that ignite, trying to stack it up 5 times and keep it rolling for an insane dot, dealing crazy amounts of damage for an indefinite amount of time, depending on if the mages can keep the crits going. So the example that I used to exemplify this strength in my other video was Cthulhu, the final boss in AQ40, on his weakened phase. A fully stacked ignite the entire way through can take down a phase 2 Cthulhu in one single weakened phase. Only mages can do this. Mages are the master class, and of course, their AoE and utility fits in perfectly in a PvE scenario as well, whether kiting mobs on Gluth or massive AoE packs and mobs during any sort of gauntlet. Mages are your go-to class. And of course, mages can conjure food, mana crystals, which can be used in addition to mana potions on top of mana potions, so they could use a mana potion and a mana crystal every 2 minutes, giving them pretty decent sustain in terms of their mana resources. And they can make portals to teleport pretty much everywhere across the world. And that's just a bonus perk, or those are just bonus perks on top of everything else. Alright guys, so that pretty much covers the gist of it, and like I say in pretty much all of my other videos, I could have probably gone into deeper detail and covered some more things, but I'll just cut it off here. I don't really like making my videos, math tutorials, like theory crafting math tutorials. It seems pretty boring. But if you guys feel like I missed any really important aspects that make mages great, feel free to drop it in the comments. And as I stated earlier, this is pretty much a propaganda piece for my all-time favorite and most beloved class in the game, and it's the first class that I ever played, so this was a special one to me. Hopefully I inspired you guys to pick the mage if you've always been curious, or if you're indecisive on what class you want to play in Classic WoW. You honestly can't go wrong with picking a mage. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did and want to catch more content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when I post a new video. We got a pretty nice notification squad nowadays. I post videos multiple times a week, so leave a like, comment, subscribe, of course, the drill soldiers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.